Hello, welcome back to another Tabletop Talk. I had a request to show how I set up Strat-O-Matic PC in order to use the cards and dice at the same time, so I thought I would take a few minutes to show how I set that up. We'll use the National League 1920 as our guinea pig to show how I do it, so we'll go up to options and start with the rules. I use the maximum level. Here you see the max rules where you can fine-tune that. There are a few things that I like to use, but most of the time, most of the max rules are the computer version taking it further than the cards and dice do, so making some adjustments and what they consider some fixes. I prefer to get my results from the cards and dice, so I select most of them where it's just the cards and dice, not the fixes, and as we go along, I think you'll see what I'm talking about. I do use the ballpark effects and the weather effects and the clutch hitting. All of those are options that you have on your cards. I use the super advanced steel system. I do like the most advanced version of the cards and dice, so I also use the super advanced strategy charts. I use the miscellaneous rules. Again, there's a tab for that where you can select some and not select others, and we'll get to that in a minute. I do not use the closer rules because I don't like the closer rules, and most of the time I'm using replaying older seasons where that's less of an issue, so I never use that. As far as injuries, if I'm doing as played, obviously I don't use the injuries. If I'm using doing a replay where I'm not doing as played, where it's a little bit more open, I typically will use the super advanced injury chart rating. Again, using the most advanced results from the cards. So I'll check that if I'm not doing as played. I use the super advanced fatigue rules. I don't use the pitch count because that's not part of the game, the cards and dice, so I go with the fatigue rules from the super advanced game. I do allow ground ball A's on pitcher's cards. And then obviously the MLB rules is if you're not doing anything 2020 and above, you use the pre-2020 rules. Not to chase a rabbit, not a big fan of modern baseball and how the changes they're making, but that's just me. All right, so you got that. So here's your max rules. So I do not check improve statistical accuracy because, again, I want what the cards give me. I do not bunt for a base hit. I do improve out distribution. Like, for example, on a ballpark check, if you get an out, it's almost always a line out on the single, and so I don't mind it changing the outs because it doesn't affect anything as far as the stats, and it also doesn't change runner advancement. So I don't mind a line out being changed to a pop out or a fly out because it does make the out distribution a little bit better, but it doesn't change any of the stats. I don't hit improve base running realism. I don't do the home field advantage because, again, those are all things that are computer, not cards and dice. I do not use the starting pitcher clutch. I don't do more base running decisions. Again, I go with the cards. If it's a 1 star or 2 stars, the game itself, if it's like hit to the right field, then you have the option to advance, so I kind of go with that. I do not do the doubles and triples. I do not force daily injuries. Again, if I am doing injuries, I want the cards to tell me what happens. I do not do realistic throwing errors. Again, I go with the errors that I get from the cards and dice and the charts. I do not allow extra pre-1920 errors. Again, I'm assuming that that's built into the cards, so I go with whatever they give me. Again, you kind of see a theme developing here. No pitch around, because that's not in the cards. I do robbing home run rule. I think that adds a level of excitement, and it is part of the cards and dice. I do not correct board game excesses. Allow errors on bunts. I don't do that. Allow errors on pickoffs. I don't do that because, again, I think that's built into the game. I do not prorate injuries to length of season. If I'm doing an as-played replay, I will limit all injuries to current game, so you can have game injuries, so that does make you have to take somebody out and adds a little bit of excitement to and doesn't affect the as played aspect of it, So again, that's kind of up to you, but I like that as a little extra salt and pepper. No defensive shifts because I think they suck. I do allow the catcher blocking the plate rule. Again, that's part of the cards and dice game. I do not tweak the extreme batter pitcher matchup. That's where, like, if you get somebody who's, he's going to hit 800 versus a lefty, they kind of modify that, and I don't. Again, if you're using the player's usage somewhat realistically, then, that's not that big a deal. I'm not going to use a guy 800 or 600 at bats if he only had 6, Allow errors not shown on Super Advanced chart. I don't do that. Again, I go with whatever the chart gives me, and I don't throttle back monster cards. So those are my max rules. So that's that. So that's kind of what I got on that first one. And then the next one, you got lineups and usage. So again, if I'm doing an as played, I go with the automatic lineups. If I'm not doing as played, I typically do primary with rest. So that tends to work pretty good. I do give scheduled days off because that helps with your fatigue and pitcher rotations and stuff. No automatic sweep-o-matic. I'm not real big on fantasy and as if. I kind of want it to be, I'm not one of those guys who everything has to come out exact, but I want it to be in the ballpark. I want it to be kind of realistic. I mean, the truth of the matter is that if somehow you were able to play in real life, able to play the exact same season with the exact same players, the exact same weather, everything, it still would come out different. It's just, you're going to have just variations that will make things different. And so I like that. And so I don't want my replay to be exactly the same, but I want it to be in the ballpark. So, but as far as trades and things like that, that's just not my thing. A lot of people love it, and nothing wrong with that. But so no swap-o-matic for me. Again, automatic transactions if I'm doing a as played. If I'm not, then I'll do the minor leaguers eligible. So that just kind of gives you some people that are not on the roster and some that are. I try to limit overusage. I don't want it fully controlled. I don't mind if it's off a little, and I don't want it ignored because typically when I do a replay, I pick one team and then let the computer handle the other teams. And so far, Strat-O-Matic has done a decent job. So again, I kind of do the middle of the road there. Just keep an eye on it. I don't do any of the super howl. And then I don't allow extra games started for certain pitchers. Now, I do that if I'm not doing as played. Because, again, I want it to have a little flexibility to make, things to be a little different. When I'm using the cards and dice, I am in my 1920 White Sox replay, but going forward, I don't want to use the actual pitcher batting cards because I don't have those physical cards of the pitchers. And so I want to use the generic pitcher hitting cards. So I actually have their card in front of me. So going forward, I'm not going to check that if I'm using the physical cards and dice. And I do want a warning when actual usage is exceeded just so I can have a heads up. So kind of, keep an eye on the league. So that's lineups and usage. Game preferences. You want dice mode if you're, again, you don't want manual entry. And now you can do manual entry if you're doing another game and trying to use Strat-O-Matic to input the stats. I find Action PC is better for that. Or not Action PC, I'm sorry. Replay, PC Replay Baseball is the best. Now, the one thing that Strat-O-Matic has going for it is that you can get any season in Strat-O-Matic PC. You can't do that in PC Replay. So if there's a season that PC Replay doesn't have, then I can use Strat-O-Matic to do that. But anyway, for this one, you want dice mode, and so that will allow you to enter those. I typically do minimal play-by-play. I just like the results. I don't like the flight of the ball. It just doesn't do much for me. I do want the board game information because, again, that's what I'm playing with. And the trivia questions and just newsworthy events don't really come into play if you're doing the 7th inning stretch. I do like the trivia in the 7th inning stretch, so I keep that on, This, you can check either one because obviously depending on which team you need computer managed changes from game to game. So and then typically I got my play-by-play speed at 5. That works for me. Okay, so that's game preferences, and then you go your dice and cards. So here you want dice rolled manually, and that will allow you to input the rolls that you roll physically. I do want the cards in the notebook. Now, when I update Strat-O-Matic, I always do the card image option. I don't have physical cards for all the seasons that I have on the computer, and so I still want to see the cards if I don't have the physical cards. That's a little extra, but I found that that's what I want. Now, some people might say, if you have the cards on the computer screen, why would you want them on the table? And that's a legitimate question. I don't know that I have a great answer for it. It's just that I prefer the cards in hand. I want the cards on the table, and and that you can do that with Strat-O-Matic. They got it set up to where you can get the computer doing pretty much what the cards are doing, and then once you enter in the dice roll, it will do all the calculating for you, which is really great. It's a time saver, so it kind of gets the best of both worlds. You can have the cards, you can roll your own dice, you can get the feel of the cards, you can, before the game starts, you get the cards out and get your lineup going, all that kind of stuff that us cards and dice nerds enjoy. But it'll compile the stats, it'll do the heavy lifting on the, the charts. So for me, it's the best of both worlds. I do all 3 dice stopping together, and then you also want to make sure you've got the split cards input manually so that you can input your D20 roll. You want to make sure that your Animate Super Advanced fielding chart is up. So if you get an X chance, that will pop up, and then you can actually see the chart. So again, if you're doing the cards and dice, that's important to me. So that's that option. The sound, again, that's pretty self-explanatory. Typically, if I'm trying to post a game online, I have the sound off. If I'm by myself, I usually like the sounds. The autoplay box score, I prefer all the options, so I want the box score, the PAC, and the score sheet. I do it always, so I want every game. So if I want to go back and look at it, I can. I like the game story on the box score. They actually do a decent job. It's not really in depth, but it does feel realistic. So like at the bottom of the box score, there'll be like a little recap, couple paragraphs, which I enjoy, so I like those on. Down here, I view scores during autoplay. So typically, you'll have manual as the game you're playing, and the other ones are autoplay. You can check this. If you don't want to see the scores, uncheck it. So if you want to be surprised, I usually leave it on because I don't care to see the other game scores before I play my game. Now these subsets, I check all of those. So you got team versus team, day versus night, month by month, home versus road. So when you're going into your stats, it gives you a lot more variety, and I like that. So I make sure all those are checked. Events, I usually I select all. So any kind of special thing is an event. Leaders, again, I typically leave most of these on. Sometimes I'll go through and uncheck some because it makes, the stats that I don't really care about, and it makes the leaderboard a little less cluttered. So, and then your miscellaneous rules. Remember, we talked about that earlier. Here's the thing for that. I hide pitcher hitting 99 leagues. I don't know what that means, but I know every time I check it, it locks up my system, so I don't check that. I don't know what that is, but I know not to check it. I typically don't show ballpark entry. Now, if you have the modern seasons with the ballpark disc that you buy extra, it will have that. So, like when you open up the game and get ready to go to say you're playing in Wrigley Field, it'll have a picture outside of Wrigley, that kind of stuff. With the older seasons, you have to put that in yourself, or it's just a generic. And so I usually don't show that. I like to display game notes at startup. So like before you start a game, it'll show you the pitchers for the series. It'll show the records. It'll show who's hot, who's not. So that's kind of cool. I do like that. I don't save print files to HTML because I think that's if you're wanting to do like a website, which I don't. automatic league backup, I check that. So basically, every time you shut down the computer after having opened a season, it automatically saves that season for you, which is handy in case you get boogered up. And then obviously you want to put that somewhere besides your computer, like on a cloud or a disk drive or a USB drive, something like that. So that way, if your computer backs up, you don't lose all your replay. And I do log automatic trans and lineup error. I think that sends a message to the company if there's a problem. And so here you can change your colors and your fonts and things like that. So those are the options that I use to set up. So we'll open up a game here. So we got Boston at New York will be a manual. So you play today, and then so here you can check which team you want home in computer. And this other, you can edit your lineups and pick your starters and decide who's eligible, that kind of thing. Things that most people understand about PC know how to do. So you hit play ball. Okay, now I'll show you kind of how it works. So at this point, all you have to do is, you got your cards on your table and you roll your dice. And so let's say we roll a 2-5 or a 1-5. So you hit enter. Now, to my knowledge, you can't enter this from the keyboard. You have to mouse it. So we got 1-5, hit select, and then it'll give you the result. So again, it's really handy if there's any working or figuring out. It'll do it all of it for you. And you'll see here you've got the picture or the card image. And now one advantage to having the cards on the table is that you see both sides. Here you can see it only shows which side that they're facing. So I like seeing both, so you can kind of compare the two. And so you can't do that with the card image. So that's another advantage to have them in front of you. So let's say we have a split. So let's say we get a 1-10. So hit enter, put in 1-10, and then the split thing will pop up for you. And then you can enter whatever you rolled. So let's say we rolled a 3. So he's going to get a double. Okay, and then I'll show you an X chart here, how it pops up. So let's say we got to hit enter, and we got a 4-3, so that'll be an X check on the first baseman. And then the same thing here, you roll your dice again, so you roll your D20. So let's say we rolled a 14, and then you add up your 3 D6s, and so we got 12, and then so it'll show you the results from the chart and then figure it out for you. So that's just great. So again, for me, this is the best of both worlds. I can do the cards and dice, get the feel and the enjoyment I get out of that. And then the computer does all the heavy lifting, and they did a really good job of making it tweakable to where that if you don't want the added things that the computer gives you, what they consider to be, more statistically accurate, you can uncheck those and you don't have to use them. But again, you get the physical representation, and when you're doing your scorecard, I don't have to put in the defensive ratings or the run ratings because all of it's right here on the computer for you. And a lot of people complain about Strat-O-Matic not making any upgrades to their computer version. It's pretty much the same from year to year other than added seasons. And, I think that's a legitimate complaint, but it works. PC Replay Baseball is in my mind the best computer cards and dice PC version that there is. But Strat's good. Again, if you've got a season you want to replay, and you can use it to input stats just like you do with PC Replay. But again, Strat-O-Matic has every season available on the computer. So no matter what game you have, you can put it into Strat-O-Matic because, again, PC Replay doesn't have every season. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or if there's something I missed, something that wasn't clear, be sure to put it in the comments. But that's how I set it up. And then when I'm offline, I got my cards and my dice tower on the table, my scorebook, and I'm ready to roll. And then when I'm done, all the stats are inputted. Again, all the heavy thinking about charts and things like that are in the game. And for me, it's the best of both worlds. So I hope that was helpful, and I will see you next time.